Welcome back to the AI Daily Brief. In a massive shock to literally no one paying any attention to this space, Google Next is all about agents. Yes, friends, this week we are headed into the next round of big tech conference season. And unsurprisingly, Google's Cloud Next conference featured a huge lineup of AI announcements designed to all, in some, I think, make the technology feel and be more useful. The company's annual cloud conference was held in Las Vegas this week and was absolutely squarely focused on taking the next step in the AI race. We've got agentic infrastructure, new models, a new AI chip, and much, much more. A pair of announcements about agentic infrastructure could end up having the most impact of all. Back a couple of weeks ago on March 30th, in the wake of OpenAI announcing that they were going to support MCP or the Model Context Protocol, Google CEO Sundar Pichai tweeted, "To MCP or not to MCP? That's the question. Let me know in the comments." 1.8 million views and 1,000 comments later, we got the answer and it was a yes. DeepMind CEO Demis Hassabis tweeted, "MCP is a good protocol and it's rapidly becoming an open standard for the AI agentic era. We're excited to announce that we'll be supporting it for our Gemini models and SDK. Look forward to developing it further with the MCP team and others in the industry." And to reiterate, this means that all three of the leading US labs are now supporting MCP. Now, for those of you who don't know what the heck I'm talking about, we covered MCP in depth a couple weeks back. But in short, if you're just trying to understand the implications, it means a significant boost for interoperability and compatibility across the rapidly developing agentic infrastructure layer. The more people supporting and building on MCP, the more agent building becomes plug and play, and the faster everyone builds on the advances of everyone else. The second big agentic announcement was the unveiling of Google's Agent Development Kit and a new interoperability standard called Agent to Agent. As the name suggests, the standard is seeking to harmonize the way agents communicate with each other rather than how they interact with tools. Rao Suraphaneni, VP of Google's Cloud Business Application Platform, insisted that A2A is not competing with MCP, which of course is more about tool use. They said, "We see MCP and A2A as complementary capabilities. The way we are looking at agent to agent is at a higher layer of abstraction to enable applications and agents to talk to each other. So think of it as a layered stack where MCP operates with the LLMs for tools and data." Words, but basically the point is that they're trying explicitly to not compete with MCP here, but instead be a standard for something different. A2A has 50 companies on board to support the open standard, including Salesforce, ServiceNow, and Workday. Suraphaneni said that Google isn't necessarily looking to compete with other consortiums working on their own solutions, saying, "We will look at how to align with all of the protocols. There will always be some protocol with a good idea, and we want to figure out how to bring all those good ideas in." Now, the benefits of this sort of standardization are replete. Standard ways for agents to coordinate could reduce the amount of complexity, for example, in multi-agent systems, could mean that agents talk to their counterparts at other companies, making them more capable of getting work done without getting humans involved. So what does it all amount to? Well, MIT PhD Tobin South says, "My take on A2A from Google and friends is that they're trying to create a communications hierarchy with MCP as tool use and A2A as coordination and communication. Frankly, I prefer the client-server model of MCP, and I think we'll see A2A wrapped by an MCP server supporting the A2A schema." HubSpot founder and now Agent.ai creator Dharmesh Shah writes, "Shockingly, this doesn't change everything. It's very, very early, but here are my initial thoughts. I'm a big believer in multi-agent networks and agent-to-agent communication. It's good that there's now an open standard out there for it. They cover some very key needs: capability discovery, agents being able to send messages to each other, being able to work on tasks that are long-lived, async, weaving in human UX into the agentic flow, etc. This is not a replacement for MCP. In fact, during their announcement post, Google included a helpful diagram that illustrates how A2A and MCP fit together. Still, this feels a bit heavy to me. It's trying to do a lot. In a way, that's good because you get a bunch of capabilities out of the box like async tasks and user experience negotiation, but the trade-off is that heavier protocols are harder to implement, and as such, you don't get the quick adoption you see with lighter weight things, so I don't anticipate MCP-style adoption. Reading between the lines, this feels like they're solving for a lot of mega enterprises and big consulting firms looking to build multi-agent systems inside the corporation. It's less about connecting agents across orgs, but I could be wrong. Will be interesting to see actual usable implementations of this outside the Fortune 1000 companies. Overall, this is good news though. Moves us further down the multi-agent systems road. Other random little agentic notes, Gemini Code Assist is getting an agentic upgrade. This is their cursor competitor nominally, and it can now deploy agents to complete complex programming tasks across multiple steps. This kind of agentic feature has been a game changer on other platforms, with programmers using it to automate repetitive tasks like code migration. Google has also released a security agent as part of their new unified security platform. The goal is to have an agent on the beat that can recognize and remediate threats before they become major problems. The chief information security officer at Charles Schwab, Bashar Abusaido, said, Google is transforming security operations and enabling our vision to stay proactive in responding to cyber threats. The platform has empowered our team to focus on strategic initiatives and high-value work. We didn't get a massive new model, but what we did get was Gemini 2.5 Flash. Like its predecessor, this is a smaller model designed to deliver efficient performance with extremely low latency. The big change is a lot more customization. Google wrote, "You can tune the speed, accuracy, and cost balancing for your specific needs. This flexibility is key to optimizing Flash performance in high-volume, cost-sensitive applications." Gemini 2.5 Flash is a reasoning model at launch and will likely end up being the cheapest on the market. The model is designed to adjust the depth of reasoning based on the complexity of the prompt, which is similar, it seems, to the approach that OpenAI is pursuing. Google is aiming to provide a model that hits the sweet spot between performance and cost writing. It's the ideal engine for responsive virtual assistants and real-time summarization tools where efficiency at scale is key. Google also announced that they plan to bring Gemini models to on-premise deployments starting in Q3. On the chip side, Google has announced the 7th generation of their tensor processing unit, which they're calling Ironwood. Now, unlike GPUs, TPUs are specifically designed for AI computing tasks. GPUs, meanwhile, are more generalized across all mathematical functions. In fact, in the early days, it was a slight coincidence that the chip architecture that powers 3D gaming was also highly performant for AI. The core bet with developing TPUs instead of GPUs was that specially designed architecture would be more efficient. So far, that theory hasn't totally played out, with NVIDIA's GPU architecture still at the top of the pack. However, Google is hoping that Ironwood might finally validate that thesis. The company claims that their new processor can deliver 24 times the computing power of the world's fastest supercomputer when deployed at scale. Previous generations of the hardware were designed for both training and inference, but Ironwood is the first to be specially optimized for inference. Amin Vadat, Google's vice president of machine learning, said, "Ironwood is built to support this next phase of generative AI and its tremendous computational and communication requirements. This is what we call the age of inference, where AI agents will proactively retrieve and generate data to collaboratively deliver insights and answers, not just data." Now, there are a bunch of numbers and specs that come with this thing, but rather than try to explain an exaflop, the promise here is that Ironwood is around twice as fast as NVIDIA's H100. Still, they argue that the biggest difference is actually scale. A maximum size pod of Blackwell B200 chips is 576 chips before they require outside networking, while Ironwood claims to be capable of being deployed in a 9,216 chip pod. This is also a massive jump from Google's previous generation of TPUs, which were called Trillium. The company has achieved a 4-fold increase in computing power compared to the 2024 model. Ironwood is also more efficient, delivering twice the performance per watt compared to Trillium. And this TPU and the focus on efficient inference definitely suggests that Google is scaling up to service compute-hungry reasoning models and the agents driven by them. Now, there is more going on here as well. In a big vote of confidence for Google's new silicon, Ilya Sutskever announced that his startup will use Google Cloud's TPUs. Samsung announced that Gemini would be added to their new home robot. Google's enterprise cloud platform now features a music generation model. Ultimately, while there wasn't one big, huge thing, at least not a hit you over the head, overall, it's a pretty remarkable shift from black Nazis and glue on pizza to all of this in just about a year. AI for Success writes, "Google DeepMind is destined to win the AGI race, and here's why. They have the data advantage, they own the TPUs, massive distribution channel, have all the best models right now, they have everything, and they dominate all 4 key areas: applications, foundation models, cloud, accelerator hardware." I'm not sure how this all shakes out, but if you're Google, you gotta be happy that that is the narrative among many these days. That's going to do it for today's AI Daily Brief. Appreciate you listening or watching as always. And until next time, peace